We are talking about Jason X from 2001. Is it awesome or awful? We're about to find out. Welcome, everyone. This is Mike from fearshop.com. Today we're talking about Jason X from 2001. Is it awesome or awful? Before we get into this movie, make sure you smash that like button for me. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're releasing a couple videos a week. Everything's horror themed, so make sure you're leaving comments. Let me know what kinds of videos that you want to see. Let me know if there's any videos you'd like me to cover and do a deep dive on, or an awesome or awful video on them. Love doing this stuff, love doing the research, love rewatching a lot of these films. So happy to do any suggestions that you guys have. I mean, to be honest, I'm putting these videos out here for you guys, so you let me know what you want me to be talking about. So, Jason X, 2001. Jason Voorhees returns with a new look, a new machete, and his same murderous attitude as he is awakened on a spaceship in the 25th century. Okay, we've had other franchises go to space, and that probably didn't work out so well, right? You had Hellraiser, you had Leprechaun, right? They weren't exactly stellar moments in those franchises. I don't exactly know how many stellar moments Leprechaun had anyways in the whole entire franchise. I will exclude films like Alien and things like that because they were always in space. But a lot of times when you really go outside of the box, things don't work out, right? And Jason X is just kind of one of those movies that we had. Jason Goes to Hell had come out, and obviously the end, the surprise ending in Jason Goes to Hell is Freddy grabbing Jason's mask. And the long rumored movie of Freddy vs. Jason was set to be made. So development of Jason X began in the late 90s while Freddy vs. Jason was still in development hell, right? Since Freddy vs. Jason was not moving forward, Jim Isaac and Sean Cunningham decided they wanted another Friday the 13th film made to retain audience interest in the character. There was a little... Jason Goes to Hell wasn't exactly entirely well received. Still not to this day. A lot of people will say it's by far the worst video in the series. And, then we had Jason X. They completely went out of the box, given that the way Jason Goes to Hell had ended. And then they knew there was going to be a Freddy vs. Jason, but Freddy was kind of doing the New Nightmare thing. And they didn't want to just make Jason come back to life in Camp Crystal Lake. I think they toyed around with like prequel type stuff, but I don't know how much more prequel you can really get. Than the original Friday the 13th, when it wasn't even Jason as the killer. I obviously wasn't in the room during all those conversations, but I heard there was talk of a prequel or talking like a gap movie before part 2 and things of that nature. But what ended up happening was Todd Farmer, who actually plays Dallas in Jason X, he gave a pitch to the studio for the movie, and he suggested sending Jason to space as a means to advance the film series. This way you're not messing with the existing timeline that's there. Freddy vs. Jason was still able to take place after Jason Goes to Hell. So I think, it was kind of an easy sell at the time. And it was also around the time where it was kind of normal to be sending horror characters off to space. And I can't even believe, that was a thing. But, the film is destined to fail. I mean, to be honest, it just didn't work with any of these other series. So it's going to be, curious. I'll admit, a lot of times when I do these awesome or awful movies, I don't know which side of the fence I'm going to be on, right? Until I really go through and start breaking down and literally counting how many awesome elements, how many awful elements. Jason X is one of those films. There's definitely a lot of divergence between fans of the of genre fans and Friday the 13th fans and where they fall. This is probably one of the Friday the 13th films that has that fork in the middle where you might have half of the people loving it and half of the people hating it. Whereas I think the majority of people like hate Jason Goes to Hell, right? A lot of people hate Manhattan. But Jason X really feels like it's kind of split down the middle. I know where I stand. I knew where I was going to stand at the end of the video, but I still wanted to do this. So, awesome elements. David Cronenberg is Dr. Wimmer. Like, are you kidding me? How awesome is that? Right? Doesn't play a huge role, but still pretty awesome casting. Another awesome element. The opening of the film where they've captured Jason, they explain that nothing kills him, so they're going to have to freeze him. Right? They just want to basically be able to, if they can't take him away permanently, they'll take him away by cryogenically freezing him. You know, it pretty cool idea. You know, I obviously I geek out on stuff like this, but it's pretty cool. Another awesome element is Uber Jason. I will admit, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's horrible!" Right? It's they messed with Jason, and then you got to, you know, you watch it a few times, like, all right, where else were they gonna go with this? You know, I thought it was pretty cool. So awesome, futuristic weapons. Probably the most awesome element of this movie, and one of the most awesome elements in the Friday the 13th series, is the frozen head kill. It is absolutely brutal. The effects are awesome in that one. It just looks so good. Another awesome element is Jason fights a couple of badasses and gets his butt kicked until he becomes Uber Jason. I guess I'm kind of doubling up on the Uber Jason part of it. Another awesome element, franchises going to space. You know, I talked about Leprechaun and Hellraiser. They just don't work, right? This does not include films like Alien, again, that's always been in space. But not only does Jason X do it well, it ends up being one of the better films in the series with good kills and actually some really good humor in it as well. Another awesome element, the illusion showing Camp Crystal Lake in the past is just fun. It's the things that you can do when you go play around in the future. And, you know, the whole world's your oyster. There's a lot of things you can try that you couldn't have tried in the 80s and 90s inside of Camp Crystal Lake. And, I mean, I think given more time and more people having input in the script, they could have even done more. But I thought that was so good. You know, it was fun how they just had, like, the dumb teens, and it was done really well. All right. The awful elements of the movie. Some of the acting is, you know, pretty bad, I guess, at best. And then in terms of awful elements, I'll be honest, that's kind of all I have. Like, seriously. I mean, obviously the film is not perfection, but there are so many awesome parts to this movie. And to me, so few awful parts. I mean, you have true badasses that Jason has to fight against, right? It's, you know, not only in KM14, then you also have, you know, basically trained soldiers that are going after him. There's, you know, there's so much they did with this film. The kills are great. The use of the futuristic weapons, it just all played out really well. So the verdict on this one, on Jason X, is it's awesome. You know, I know there's a lot of people who hate Jason X, but I think they need to just watch the movie with a fresh perspective. The film has interesting characters, some amazing kills. You still have those young, dumb characters, and you have much more formidable opponents for Jason. So, in the comments below, tell me why you either love or you hate Jason X. I want to know, is it awesome or is it awful? You know, like I said, talking to a lot of Friday the 13th fans, this one seems to be split right down the middle. I always hear just as many people who love it to just as many people who hate it. It's just one of those things in the series. You have a lot of people, you know, like say you take A New Beginning, right? there's people, a lot of people are like, it's okay, and some people are like, it's kind of lame. Jason's not the killer and all that, but Friday the 13th especially doesn't have a great track record when they try to do different things. A New Beginning was, in essence, a new beginning, right? It wasn't Jason. After the reception turned out the way it did, Jason quickly returned in part 6. Part 7, a lot of people kind of complain. It still, takes place in the woods, but now you got somebody with telekinetic powers. More so, Manhattan, people complain. Why would you take him out of Camp Crystal Lake? Even though, it started in Camp Crystal Lake, the majority of the movie was in the boat, and barely any of it was in Manhattan. I also did an awful video on Manhattan if you want to check that out as well. Jason Goes to Hell, same thing. I actually did a video on that. But again, Jason Goes to Hell, different, right? An interesting story, but just different in the series. And people absolutely loathed that movie. And same thing with Jason X. The one thing I think is different about it is Jason X, it still has the kills and it still has the interesting characters. So to me, still one of my favorite ones in the series, without a shadow of a doubt. So that wraps this video up. I want to hear from you. Post your thoughts in this video. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you subscribe. But most of all, make sure you keep it horror.